All right, let's talk about AEW Fighter Fest. They attempted to get 4 hours out of me. I told them, no, I will not. I gave them 2 hours and about 15 minutes. That was it, boss. That's what you usually get for Dynamite. That's all you were getting. So there will be nothing reviewed after Will Osprey and Leo Rush. That's it, boss. I don't watch Collision. And you're not going to trick me into watching Collision by calling it Fighter Fest. And then also, there's nothing on the show worth talking about anyway. So that just helped matters a whole lot. Let's talk about the show that I did watch. So Will Osprey started. They're starting these shows with Will Osprey a lot more often now. They showed a video of him and Swerve getting into a fight. Then he said that he loves Swerve. He doesn't want to fight him. They're friends. They've been friends for 12 years. Then he says that Moxley is the real enemy and Hangman and Swerve should work together to defeat him. Then he said the only reason AEW sucks right now is because Mox is the champion. I can't believe he just said AEW sucks. He said he could take a bullet for AEW. Hopefully it's right through the fucking brain. Why would you say that? Then he says that he's going to call Swerve out to fight next week. After saying he didn't want to fight him, he said, well, I guess I have to fight him. Then we got Leo Rush and Action Andretti coming out here. I was like, what the hell? Leo Rush hates Will Ospreay. Said that AEW sucks because of him. There's a lot of people admitting that this show sucks. Says he got pent-up anger and frustration. Will Ospreay essentially accepted this challenge, and they were going to have the match later on, they said. And this was the last match I watched. Will Ospreay versus Leo Rush. Now, here's the thing. I'm a big Leo Rush guy. I really am. He looks absolutely ridiculous in the Bowser jacket. I don't get it, but whatever. He just wants to wear a spiky jacket. That's his thing. This match was a foregone conclusion, but I thought it might be somewhat entertaining, and I didn't find it to be that entertaining. Leo Rush has got to be the guy who probably tanked his career. I wouldn't say the most, because guys like Enzo did a pretty good job of destroying their own career too, but Leo Rush, man, the things he could be doing right now if he was more mature when he was in WWE. The guy can talk. He's just very small, but man, he could talk. He could move. Just the only problem is that he's small, but he had pretty much everything else, and of course he lost to Will Ospreay. I mean, why would you even consider it going it the other way? But this wasn't even as competitive as these matches usually are. I mean, this felt much like a squash match. Mark Briscoe cut a promo, said his kid thought that he gave up, and he says no, he didn't give up, but sometimes in life you win some, you lose some. Did he challenge Jon Moxley to a match in order to prove a point? I don't remember what that point was. But Moxley, of course, beat Mark Briscoe bloody. This is like the fourth Mark Briscoe match in a row where he was bleeding. Moxley was biting him, digging and scratching all in the wound. Yuta and Marina Shafir interfered. Mark Briscoe did fight back and hit a J Driller, but it was only a 2 count. Before Moxley finally wins with the rear naked choke. Big old ugh. There was a time where I would have been excited for this, because there was a time where I was actually a Moxley fan, and I thought Briscoe was underrated. But knowing that, Mark Briscoe is just a jabroni, there was no reason to get too excited about this. And the match felt like it went on for probably too long. And I can't believe they're prostituting the J Driller like this, where people are kicking out of it. But I'm overthinking this. They're actually using the Styles class as a finisher, which I'm very entertained by. Toni Storm and Mina Shirikawa defeat Julia Hart and Sky Blue. Mercedes Moné was at ringside with a giant cartoon stake that looked like a Timberland boot. I don't know. This was nothing. It was nothing. But Mercedes had I guess she was doing a dinner and a movie kind of gimmick, where she had her own little personal table with her gigantic steak and a glass of champagne, and she looked ridiculous. All of this looked absolutely ridiculous. There's nothing really to discuss here. Nothing happened. So, whatever. The Hurt Business came out there. MJF and MVP were the only two that talked. Bobby Lashley was wearing leather. He looked like my grandma's old love seat. Lashley gave Denver a thumbs down because they were all up his ass, giving them big cheers and chanting for him because he was from Colorado. But he gave him the big thumbs down. That was funny. MVP said that this is the best tag team in the universe, that they're mega stars, and if this is where the best wrestle, then where are all the best tag teams? MVP kept getting Lashley and Shelton Benjamin mixed up. He kept calling Benjamin the Almighty. He didn't know which one was standing on which side. I guarantee you if it was a white man, it'd be all kinds of racism, but it's MVP, so we're just going to say he's old, right? MJF got on the microphone, said that he wanted to be AEW World Champion, but that means he's going to have to wrestle. Then he says that the Mexicans think Mystico is the best in the world, while MJF thinks he's a big fish in a small pond, and maybe he'll let Mystico wrestle him at Grand Slam. Okay, before we go any further, let's stop right here, because MJF versus Mystico is good money. I don't think they're going to be able to get away with Mystico losing, though. Not in Mexico. And him beating MJF sets MJF back. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be disqualification. That's what it feels like. MJF versus Mystico is a big match. I appreciate that. I appreciate the effort. I really do. But it's very obvious disqualification bait. Then a menagerie of fucking clowns came out here. Speedball Mike Bailey, Commander, and Kevin Knight. MVP said White Show Nuff, Bruce Leroy, and the Blue Ranger. Now, I was extremely offended by this because Bruce Leroy and Show Nuff are iconic characters. And I do not want these lame son bitches being equated to our classic characters. There is nothing that you can say about Speedball Mike Bailey that would make people think that he is the White Show Nuff. He doesn't have that kind of charisma. He ain't got that kind of presence. He's a character from WMAC Masters. Some kind of King of Fighters gimmick or something like that. I have no idea what this guy is doing. Alright? He spoke French. And it just sounded like he was speaking one of those Lord of the Rings languages on this show. It didn't feel like real French. And then Commander is yelling in Spanish. He's yelling in Spanish at these men. They should just tear his arms off. I don't know what he said. It don't matter. Anyway, Kevin Knight challenged them to a match. MVP said no. And said that they would have to earn it. And then we get something that I actually enjoyed. Rush and Dralistico, as well as the Beast Mortos, who are wrestling as Los Ingobernables, versus Speedball Mike Bailey, Commander, and Kevin Knight. Now, the only reason I like this match, I'm a big fan of Rush and Beast Mortos. I wish they both were getting pushed. I wish they were more important to this show. Unfortunately, they're not the right kind of Mexican guys. And, you know, to be quite honest, the Mexican guys are not really appreciated in AEW anyway. I kind of think that they need to leave. I think Rush and Dralistico and Beast Mortos could take their talents elsewhere to be appreciated. I mean, I liked Ring of Honor when Rush was the champion. And I liked Ring of Honor when it had that lucha flavor, you know, right there near the end. Even though it was kind of empty arena, that was kind of shitty. But when Bandito was there, when Flamita was there, when it was Rey Horus, and, you know, I liked that Ring of Honor. I thought that was fun. I like Lucha Libre. I do. I like Lucha Libre more than the Japanese stuff. So it's unfortunate to me that the one match I get to see some luchadors in, they're basically losing to this menagerie of whatever this is. And this is disgusting. And for starters, I can't believe Kevin Knight finally won a match. He finally won. Heavens to Betsy. This is the first time I saw him win in AEW. I've seen him win in TNA, and I believe I've seen him win in New Japan. But I've never seen him win in AEW, so that's good. Kevin Knight, of course, is a very talented guy. It's these other two that he's been hanging around. The immature luchador and the they-them ninja. I don't understand why we have a they-them ninja on your show. Like, your wrestling show has a non-binary ninja. What the fuck? Why would... Moving along. So, after this match, MVP was impressed by the circus group. And the Hurt Business decided they were going to attack them, but they were all warmed up. And they backfired and beat them up. They beat up the Hurt Business, which I was not a fan of. That was not healthy. Mentally, that fucked me up. I was not a fan. I gotta say, wasn't happy with the outcome of that. I also think that match was too long. Match was much too long, I must say. We got Max Caster. He's back. He's got a petition, a pledge, so everybody can sign it to saying that he is the best wrestler alive. Then he got the ring announcer to sign that. Following this, he got the crowd to actually chant for him that "Let's go, Max, you're the best wrestler alive. Let's go, Max, you're the best wrestler alive." And they chanted with him. And in order to stay a heel, he said it was very bad that they did that. Then he says he's returning with an open challenge, see who can last 5 with the best wrestler alive. And his opponents was Powerhouse Hobbs. Hobbs beat Max Caster in 50 seconds. 50 seconds. And that was it. That was it. Max Caster doesn't need a lot of time to get over because he's very good, and Hobbs doesn't need a lot of time to get over either because he's massive and jacked. And you know, it would be nice if he was moving up the card. I guess he is moving very, very slowly, but it would have been nice if he'd have been moved up the card a little bit. I skipped a lot of the promos because most of that stuff was just pushing collision shit that I'm not going to watch. Like Christian Cage and Nick Wayne and Ricochet, and there were some other ones on the show that weren't important. And now we're at the main event of the show, the main event of the first 2 hours, the International Championship match: Kenny Omega versus Mascara Dorada versus Claudio Castagnoli versus Brody King. And Brody King was bleeding. Kenny Omega was doing flips all over the place. Mascara Dorada, very talented, and moves around very well. If I remember correctly, Mascara Dorada was Grand Metalik in WWE. Now, the reason why I say if I remember correctly, because sometimes when guys leave in Mexico, they give their gimmick away. So, I'm not sure if this is the same guy, but I'm pretty sure it's the same guy. And I don't follow CMLL, so I'm a little lost here, but I think this is the same guy. And if it is the same guy, he should probably be further along in his career than he has been. I know the WWE took like 5 or 6 years out of his life. Probably made a lot of money. He didn't get very far, but you know, it would be nice if he was like one of the standard luchadors for AEW. And he's been around long enough where he could be a very good staple performer for them. But AEW sucks at recruiting, really. They don't really do that great of a job, if we're being honest. And Kenny Omega wins. He hits the one-winged angel on Mascara Dorada. And that was it. The match was what it was. There was no drama. There was no reason for me to think Kenny Omega would lose. It just was what it was. After the match, Kazuchika Okada came out. They both, Okada and Omega, taunted each other with the championships, shoving them in each other's faces. And then they brawled a little bit before Okada fled after punching Omega in the gut. They're basically just teasing that they're going to have this match at All In. But the crowd didn't really react that well to this because not everybody is a New Japan mark that knows about there's, you know, people sway facing over these matches they had in Japan. It's like, this shit was 10 years ago now. Relax. You know, well, almost 10 years ago. I think it'll be 10 years in like 2 or 3 years from now. So it's been like 8 or 9 years ago. And it happened in Japan. These guys are very different performers from that time. We'll see if they can turn back the clock because Tony Khan absolutely wants to have that match And you know what? I don't see a problem with it. I just don't think Okada has it in him anymore. Alright, so that's it. As I was sitting here doing this, I saw the Outrunners come out to AEW in a mask. They were Los Outrunners and were teaming with Bandito. Now, if I were a low IQ YouTuber, I would say, man, what about the hypocrisy of white guys in masks and all? No, I don't care. Nobody has ever cared about white guys putting on masks. They only care now because it's WWE. That's the only thing they care about. They care because it's WWE. They don't have any standards. There is no truth but power. You should already know that by now. The real joke, the real rib, is the fact that AEW is trying to pull these 4-hour extravaganza back to back. They're doing it again next week. They're doing another 4-hour show. Forget it. You got me for Double or Nothing because it's a pay-per-view. And you have to watch the whole show. But this is a TV program. You're not going to subject me to the fucking crew. You're not going to subject me to Speedball Mike Bailey. Fucking Outrunners. No, pass. Big pass. If the Mexico show was 4 hours, I might watch that. Because, again, I love Lucha Libre. But the rest of this stuff, get lost. And this show just feels like filler. You know, like this show didn't feel like it actually did anything. Nothing actually progressed. I think Hangman Page probably talked on Collision, but then again, I didn't get that far. So maybe he said something important. He probably didn't. Tekla, I didn't get to see her debut, which I guess I'll see it next time. It's not going to be a big deal. If they really mattered, they'd put it in the first 2 hours, as far as I'm concerned. Because you had to know that those numbers were going to diminish as the show goes on. Like, share, subscribe, y'all. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.